Talks are continuing in regards to Richard Petty Motorsports switching Toyota. Talks are also continuing in regards to a street course race potentially happening in 2022 or 2023. And a lot of tracks today announced that they are going to have full capacity in their upcoming races. What's going, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. We got a lot of NASCAR stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start off all the paint schemes and sponsorship news over the last 24 hours. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into that very, very quickly. The first paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Kyle Busch's 2020 Sports Clip scheme that we're going to see this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. I believe that this paint scheme has already been ran earlier this year at Phoenix National Speedway, earlier this year if I'm not mistaken, but I really, really like this paint scheme a lot. It's very similar to what Denny Hamlin's ran in the past. I really like the colors of it a lot. They did a really good job on the Sports Clip scheme, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Josh Bilicki's 2020 Pacific Coast Termite scheme that we're going to see this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. I do like the colors a lot on this scheme. This paint scheme isn't the most perfect scheme I've seen so far from the Rick Ware race cars. I think Rick Ware's had some pretty good schemes overall this year, but I really like to see that a company is stepping up to the plate and sponsors. Great sponsorship for sure, and great to see that Pacific Coast Termite is stepping up to the plate and sponsoring Josh Bilicki this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. The next paint scheme we're going to be taking a look at is Jeremy Clements' 2020 First Pacific Funding Scheme alternate that we're going to see this weekend in the Xfinity Series race at Mid-Ohio. Solid paint scheme, in my opinion. Get some of the First Pacific Funding colors we've seen in the past. We also get some of the black number, of course. I think did a very good job on this paint scheme for sure, and I'm definitely going to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend at Mid-Ohio in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Tyler Reddick's 2021 Children's Vineyard scheme that we're going to see at Sonoma Raceway. I really like this paint scheme a lot. You get the black on the car and the white contrast background on that number as well. I think this car looks really, really awesome. Also get some red as well on the car. I think did a very good job on this paint scheme as well. RCR's had some really good paint schemes, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Matt Benedetto's 2020 Knopf Menard scheme that we're going to see this weekend in the Cup Series race at Sonoma Raceway. Like this paint scheme a lot as well. You get the Menards on the car as well. You get the black front on the hood as well with the Knopf. And I think they did a very good job on this paint scheme. And I'm definitely looking forward to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend in the NASCAR Cup race at Sonoma. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Austin Dillon's 2021 Congressional Sportsman Foundation scheme that we're going to see this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. In my opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of the scheme. I think it's a decent scheme overall, but I'm not the biggest fan of the scheme. But one thing I will say I'm very happy to see is that another sponsor stepping up to play is sponsoring. I think it's really cool to see that. Great to see Congressional Funding is sponsoring this weekend. Good to see that for sure. And the final paint scheme we're going to be taking a look at is Kevin Harvick's 2021 Busch Beer over wine scheme that we're going to see this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. As we're heading out to Sonoma Racing, which is wine country, Busch Beer is doing a different initiative this weekend. And I have to say, one thing I really liked about the Busch Beer over the last couple years, especially with Kevin Harvick, is they've been changing up the way that they've been changing up their sponsors. And I think it's really, really cool what they've been doing overall. On top of that, I really like this paint scheme overall. Did a very good job on it. The colors are really good. You get the Busch colors on it, of course. I think they did a very good job on this paint scheme overall. And I'm definitely looking forward to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend in the Cup Series race at Sonoma. And now we're going to go ahead and jump onto all the other major stories we discuss here on today's channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first story we're going to talk about is Autodesk. As Autodesk is going to be sponsoring Cole Custer for 6 races here in 2021 starting at Sonoma. They will also sponsor him at Indianapolis, Daytona, Bristol, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval later this year. Really awesome to see that another company is sponsoring. We're already seeing this year that Dixie Vodka has jumped on to Cole Custer along with their sponsor this year. But this is the second company that has come on and sponsor Cole Custer this year. To me, this is really, really awesome to see overall for sure. I'm not as big of a paint scheme overall, to be honest. If they think it's kind of plain and kind of boring, similar to the Haas cars, I think the colors are kind of boring, to be honest. But I'm very happy to see that Autodesk is stepping out of play and sponsoring Cole Custer. Great news overall on that front for sure. And now we're going to go and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Chris Hacker. As Chris Hacker is making his NASCAR Truck Series debut at Nashville Super Speedway, driving the number 94 for Cram Enterprises later this year. Now, currently at the moment, he does not have a sponsor on that car right now. So what he's going to be running is basically, I think it's like Sponsor Me or something on that car or truck as well. This is a really good opportunity for Chris Hacker. For a lot of you who do not know who Chris Hacker is, one, he's been really, really good on social media as well. He's been really, really funny to see. But also, Chris Hacker does have one ARCA start, and he actually finished in the top 10 as well in his first career ARCA start. So that was a really, really good opportunity for him. Great to see that for sure. On top of that, he's proven himself. He also finished 12th in the ARCA West race last year as well. So this really good to see that Chris Hacker is getting this opportunity. I'm wishing him the best of luck, and congratulations to him. And I think that, to be honest with you, Chris, I'm wishing you the best of luck, man, if you are watching this video. But I'm going to say this right now. I don't expect you to do run fairly fantastic, considering the equipment isn't the greatest. But I'm wishing you the best of luck, man. And maybe prove me wrong and do very, very well. Because it'd be cool to see you do well. Maybe if the team sees how good you do, you may get an opportunity with another organization down the line. But really awesome to see that Chris Hacker is getting an opportunity for later this year. And now we're going to go and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Landon Castle. As he had an interview recently with front stretches, I believe it's Dustin Albino, and he says that he wants another shot in the Cup Series here in the foreseeable future. I believe the guy that was doing the interview asked him, would you be content to race in Xfinity and never go back to Cup? He responded in the interview saying, no, because I want to run the Daytona 500 again. I want to run some of the big races again. So I definitely perceive racing Cup at some point in my career again. In my honest and sincere opinion, I think Landon Castle deserves another opportunity to race in the Cup Series. The last time he raced in the Cup Series, I believe, was in 2019, and he drove for Starcom Racing there and was pretty solid and was getting that team up in the ground, and they were starting to really perform very, very well in their first couple seasons. But at the end of 2019, he was let go at the end of the year, and Quinn Houff replaced him in 2020. I think it was unfair that he was let go, considering he was outperforming that equipment and was doing very, very well. I think Landon Castle is a very, very talented driver. He's had a pretty solid year so far in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's around, I think, in the top 20 points right now. So he's had a solid year overall in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's had, I think, one or a couple top 10s this year with the JD Motorsports equipment, which JD Motorsports has been struggling overall this year. I think he absolutely deserves another opportunity to race in the NASCAR Cup Series once again, maybe with a better organization, a team that does come down the line. Maybe like goes back to Front Motorsports in the foreseeable future. Who really knows? But I do think that he deserves an opportunity to come back to the Cup Series and race again here in the foreseeable future. And now we're going to go and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the Daytona Fan Zone. As it was announced earlier today, we'll talk about something here later in the future as well, but it's also announced, in addition to what we'll talk about, that the Daytona Fan Zone is going to be returning once again here later this year for the Coke Zero Sugar 400 weekend, with Fan Zone campgrounds and pre-race access at the Coke Zero 400 weekend. This is really great to see, and it's really awesome to see if things are continuing to get back to normal once again. They haven't had the Daytona Fan Zone, I believe, since the 2020 Daytona 500. So it's been 3 or 4 races since the last time they brought that back, with everything starting to come back to normal, with a lot of people getting vaccines, and everything continuing to return to normal much quicker than we thought. They are opening up the Daytona Fan Zone once again, and infield access is continuing to become a premium. They've been changing things really, really quickly in NASCAR. This is really, really awesome news for sure, and great to see that the Daytona Fan Zone is going to be coming back. I'm really excited about that for sure. And now we're going to go and jump on to the next story of today's episode, is we're going to talk about Donnie Schatz. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, I think it was about a month ago, as a matter of fact, that Donnie Schatz was potentially going to be running for DJR Racing in the Truck Series and making his Truck Series debut at Knoxville. Well, we got the confirmation tape from DJR Racing themselves is that he will be making his NASCAR Truck Series debut at Knoxville Speedway, driving the number 17 for DJR Racing. I am extremely excited about this. Donnie Schatz is a 10-time World of Outlaws champion. He's won like 300 or 400 World of Outlaws races for Tony Stewart's organization, of course, and he's been very, very successful in dirt racing as well. This guy has an incredible background, and this is a great opportunity. There's a few reasons why this makes a lot of sense. DJR Racing has association with Stewart-Haas Racing, and guess who Donnie Schatz raced for in the dirt programs? He races for, you guessed it, Tony Stewart Racing, who, like I mentioned, has association with DJR Racing, who's had drivers like Kevin Harvick and Chase Briscoe and even Cole Custer at times go down to trucks. Even Riley Hertzwell go down to Truck Series and race for DJR Racing. And Haley Deegan is in a development program as well, and there's potential that she could jump up in the foreseeable future to the Cup Series here in the next couple years. This is a really good opportunity. We've had so many drivers that have come from that racing like dirt, of course, that are coming in and basically racing in the Truck Series here. You got Brian Brown who's racing at KBM. You've got Jessica Friesen who's going to be racing the 62 car. You've got Chase Briscoe who's going to be driving a 04 car. You have a lot of dirt ringers, and I would expect a lot more that are going to be continuing to be enlisted very, very soon to race in these events. This is a really awesome opportunity overall for Donnie Schatz. I'm wishing him the best of luck, and it's really awesome to see that he's going to be making his NASCAR Truck Series debut, and I think he has a very shot at succeeding in those races. We'll have to watch, see what happens, but this is a great opportunity overall for him. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the starting lineups for the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series races here for this weekend. Let's start off with the NASCAR Xfinity Series, as Austin Cindric is going to be starting on the pole for the Xfinity Series race at Mid-Ohio. I can't remember who's starting on the front row as well. Austin Cindric, of course, makes a lot of sense. He's been really, really consistent throughout the year. Makes a lot of sense he'll be starting on the front row. He's not my pick, though, for Mid-Ohio. Ty Gibbs, who's driving in the 54 car, is going to be my pick, since Ty Gibbs won the last time where he was at a road course, which took place at the Daytona road course, outdueling Austin Cindric. I think Ty Gibbs will get his his third win, as he won last week at Charlotte. He will actually get a shot. I think we'll get his third win of the year and second straight win here at Mid-Ohio. And now we're going to go ahead and jump onto the Cup Series starting lineup. So Kyle Larson is going to start on the pole, along with, I believe, Chase Elliott, who's going to start on the front row as well. Even though Hendrick is starting 1, 2, 3 in that event, I'm picking Martin Truex Jr., who's starting, I think, 15th in the race, because Martin Truex Jr. has been really, really good. He's won the last 2 straight races here at Sonoma Raceway. I think he's going to show a lot of speed, and I think that he is going to go out there and win at Sonoma Raceway. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Chase Elliott. As Chase Elliott is going to be racing in the Truck Series race at Texas next week, driving the number 24 for GMS Racing, with A-Shock Energy being the main sponsor on that car. Chase Elliott, of course, you know, is a 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion. He also, the last time I believe he raced in the Truck Series, which is at Charlotte Speedway, he won the bounty against Kyle Busch and Kevin Hart's bounty and won $50,000 outdueling Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, I also believe, is going to be running that Truck Series race as well in the number 51 car. Chase Elliott, I honestly think, can win this event. I know that 24 truck hasn't been fantastic. Jack was not done overall that great in that truck, and also the driver for that Rob Fissard was hit or miss, but he kind of got let go in bad fashion. They also had Ryan Reed in his truck, and he was pretty good until, unfortunately, he wrecked out late in the event. But I honestly think that Chase Elliott overall honestly can win this race. I think with the talent isn't as great in Truck Series. There is a lot of talent, but I think the Truck Series is not as big as it used to be in the Truck Series. So I do overall think Chase Elliott is overall going to win. I think he has a very good shot at competing for the win. I think at least if he does win, I think for sure top 5, but I think he's got to be the favorite going to the event along with Kyle Busch, who's also, I believe, going to be running the Truck Series event. Great to see Chase Elliott's getting an opportunity. I have no problem, especially since it's only a first start of the year in the Truck Series outside of Cup Series. I absolutely have no problem with him racing 1 or 2 starts in the Truck Series, because I think the limitations they have currently are not that bad in my opinion. But Chase Elliott is going to be running the Truck Series race for GMS Racing later this year. And now we're going to go and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the capacity that has been announced for a lot of races. So, full capacity for a ton of NASCAR-owned tracks, IC tracks, have been announced today. Martinsville, Richmond, Talladega, Michigan, Phoenix, and Daytona announced full capacity for all of their upcoming events. A ton of races tracks have already been announced full capacity. This past weekend, the Coca-Cola 600 had full capacity. Sonoma this upcoming weekend is going to have 33% capacity, but the Pocono doubleheader is going to have full capacity. Nashville is going to have full capacity. Atlanta is going to have full capacity. You also have a lot of other races like Bristol that's going to have full, believe here, going to have full capacity. Kansas is going to have full capacity later this year. Texas for the All-Star Race, they're going to have full capacity. A lot of racetracks are announcing full capacity. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier with the fan zone, they're doing this basically because of the fact that a lot of vaccinations have been coming out. And NASCAR, of course, they're not really opening up 100% infield access at this time. They're wanting 70% of the industry to get the vaccine before they decide to fully open up. But this is really, really good news overall. And things are really, really quickly, much faster than we thought, returning to normal. This is absolutely really, really excellent news. I'm very happy to see that full capacity is coming back once again. I would not be surprised if we continue to see more and more tracks as time goes on, as we get closer to playoffs. I would not be surprised if we see a lot more tracks continue to open things up much, much faster as COVID rates go down and the vaccines continue to go up in this country. I think like 40 to 45% of people have been fully vaccinated at this point. So this is really good news overall, and great to see that we will see full capacity here later this year at a lot of upcoming tracks that have been owned by NASCAR. And now we're going to go and jump on to the next stories of today's episode, as we're going to be talking about not only the Coca-Cola 600 TV ratings, but we're also going to be talking about the Indianapolis 500 TV ratings. Let's start off with the Coca-Cola 600 TV ratings. And it was reported by Adam Stern today that Fox earned a 2.3 rating and 4.061 million viewers for Sunday's Coke 600. Down a tick in ratings, but up 2% in viewership from last year, which had a 2.4 rating and 3.96 million viewers. I believe we were down from 2018, but I think we're up from 2019. Honestly, considering that this event, usually is going to be decent viewership, this is not bad overall. It's not as bad as the Daytona 500. This race almost got more viewers than the Daytona 500 this year. Great to see that a lot of people were tuning in. I think a lot of viewership kind of tanked at the end, unfortunately, due to the fact that Kyle Larson dominated. It was kind of hard to pass well, and it wasn't the most overall enjoyable race overall. But considering this race is on main Fox, that's not bad. It's a little bit down from past years like 2007 or 2008 where they had like 8 million viewers basically watching the event. But 4 million viewers for the Coke 600 overall is not too bad, and I've got nothing against that. We're going to jump into the Indianapolis 500 TV ratings. We got a couple things to talk about that. It was reported today by Adam Stern as well that NBC earned a 5.581 million viewers for Sunday's Indianapolis 500. This is up from last year's August race, which had 3.67 million viewers. Remember, the race got delayed last year to August. And 2019, 5.44 million viewers. And this is, get this is the most watched 500 since the 100th running in 2016. This is really, really good news for IndyCar fans. IndyCar's definitely been increasing in the country in fandom as well. And the fact that this taken so long for this race to really start increasing in ratings is really, really excellent. This is overall a major, major dub for IndyCar overall. The fact that this is the most watched IndyCar race in 5 years is absolutely crazy and absolutely nuts. And it was really big, too, because you had a lot of personalities that were coming to the event. It also was a great celebration to see Julio Castroneves get his 4th ever Indianapolis victory. But that is really good news. But here's really good news for IndyCar fans. Here's what also Adam Stern reported just a few hours ago. He said, though there's caveats in the NASCAR's race had been rain related, IndyCar had an attention-grabbing crowd. The Indy 500 outrated the Daytona 500 for the first time since 1995. Yes, of course, you did have the rain delay that did affect the Daytona 500, but this is massive for IndyCar fans, and a lot of IndyCar fans, of course, are going to say, oh, NASCAR is dying. Now, keep in mind, the remember initial tune-in for the Daytona 500, I believe it was like 8.43 million viewers, which was a better tune-in than 2020, and I believe even 2019 as well. But because of the rain delay, a lot of people did not continue tuning in to the Daytona 500 because unlike 2014 and other previous years where fans stayed up all night, where a lot of fans thought that this race was going to be pushed to Monday, and they didn't push it to Monday. They tried to get it in on Sundays. There was a lot of potential this race is going to be moved to FS1 for the finish on Monday. There was a lot of talk about that. So overall, it's great to see the Indy 500 have more ratings than Daytona 500. Again, it's not 100% a fail for NASCAR. NASCAR definitely has had a lot better races when it comes to their TV ratings. But this has got to be a massive, massive win overall for IndyCar. And great to see ratings overall for the Indianapolis 500. This is definitely some really exciting news for sure. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode, as we're going to talk about street course racing once again. It was reported tonight by Adam Stern. He said, as NASCAR prepares to run, they ran earlier tonight, the iRacing Chicago event earlier tonight, iRace, is continuing talks with the city and possibly running a real-life race there. Though it's still unclear whether 2022 or 2023 would be the first time they would race. It was also mentioned in the bottom of the description, he said, the LA Coliseum remains in play as well, which originally had been reported by Chris Myers. We've been talking about the potential of street course racing coming to NASCAR really since back in last year when there was reports of potential that Toronto was going to become on the schedule, but because of COVID-19, that did not end up happening. But we've been talking about this really for the last month or so due to this Chicago race basically coming up. This is going to be really, really big when it does happen. I think that it will happen in 2022. I really think NASCAR is going to put a street course event in 2022 with the next-gen car coming as well. And in my opinion, I know a lot of people are overall against the street course, and that's fine because a lot of people want those short tracks like North Wilkesboro and like Rockingham and like National Fairgrounds to basically come back. In my opinion, I'm for it. I think that this is really good for fans, especially because it takes like an hour or sometimes 2 hours to get out, or even a long time to get out there, and you're basically wasting a lot of money, and you have to commute to an hour of 2 hours every day to basically travel out to a racetrack. When you bring a street course to the city, yes, they're going to attract those hardcore fans. They're going to go out to the event. Of course, you're going to have a lot of those hardcore fans. You definitely have some fans there. But you're also going to attract the fans that are not as hardcore, who are more of the casual fans. And if they like what they're seeing, the product they're seeing, they're going to be really, really excited. On top of that, that's great money overall for the city as well. Business around the city basically boom and pop because people are checking out those shops that have never been there. They're going to go and try places out in the area, and like gift shops and stuff are going to be popping with money as well. So that's really great right there. I think that this is something that has to happen. On top of that, LA as well, which is in the market as well. That would be really big for LA as well. Remember, both of these cities basically are 2 of the 3 biggest cities around the country. So you have to basically, this is something that needs to be thought about, and I think that it will happen next year. This is really, really good news overall. Again, the iRacing event that took place tonight, in my opinion, was not very good, but iRacing is not always the greatest representation of racing event. Remember the Dakota race, they were 2-3 seconds faster on the real track than they were on the Circuit of the Americas track. Of course, they had ran on the track, but also they were 2-3 seconds faster on the main track when they went out there. So iRacing is not the biggest representation. Again, the iRacing event was a disaster, but I think that this is a really good. I think iRacing sometimes, while I'm not a big fan of the Pro Invitational, I would say, I think that they do a lot of great job promoting new tracks and stuff, and I think they've done a great job, and I think that there's a very strong chance that we will be racing a street course race either in Los Angeles or Chicago. This is really, really massive overall, and hopefully we will see a street course race here coming here very, very soon. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the final major story of today's episode, is we're going to talk about Richard Petty Motorsports once again. There has been a rumor for quite some since all the way basically back in April that potentially a lower tier Chevy team was going to be switching over to Toyota for the 2022 season. The biggest team that's been rumored up to this point has basically been Richard Petty Motorsports. It was reported earlier tonight by NASCAR Rumor Nostalgia around 5 or 6 o'clock that there is still talks continuing at this time about potentially Richard Petty Motorsports switching to Toyota in 2022. Rumors basically began basically back in February when the Door Bumper Clear podcast reported that a lower tier Chevy team is going to be making a massive, massive move, and they were going to be switching over to it. A lot of people do bring up J.G. Doherty, but a lot of people like myself are thinking that it would be Richard Petty Motorsports. It could end up being both that switch over, but the main team that's been reported is Richard Petty Motorsports. Then on April 6th, in a tweet that came out, Corey LaJoie had a Toyota, basically Aspire. He basically had a Toyota. Denny Delivers YouTube on Twitter basically responded saying, like, I thought that we had a rumor and a report about a lower tier Chevy team. And then Corey LaJoie responded to him saying that basically that is the 43 car. So a lot of speculation back in April basically began. And those talks have basically been happening for a couple months. Now, I think that this move overall would make a lot of sense if it is happening. There's a couple reasons why I think this makes a lot of sense. One, you're going to be more in talks and working with Toyota because Toyota doesn't have as many organizations right now. You basically have Joe Gibbs Racing, but you also basically have 2311 Racing and also Gaunt Brothers Racing will rely, even though Gaunt Brothers Racing doesn't run full time. But you have 5 or 6 cars that you can rely information on, and you could become one of the most powerful teams overall at a new start. Because let's be for real, Richard Petty Motorsports at Chevy, they haven't done absolutely fantastic. The second reason is Richard Petty Motorsports, a lot of people think they haven't really switched manufacturers, which isn't true. They have switched manufacturers from like Pontiac, basically back to Ford, basically back to Dodge. They've done so many manufacturers throughout their time. They basically went from Ford after 2017 to Chevy in 2018. So Richard Petty is not out of question to potentially make moves like that. The third reason is the driver. Erik Jones, for the longest time, since around 2012, has been racing in the Toyota stable since around 2012 when he started out with Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Truck Series around 2012 to 2013. And he was racing over there, and then he went to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2016 full-time in Xfinity Series, almost winning the championship there. Then he went up full-time in 2017 with Furniture, then went over to full Joe Gibbs Racing in 2018, where he scored 2 victories in that time, winning at Daytona 2018 and winning the Southern 500 in 2019. Didn't have a great year in 2020. And then he was let go and moved over to Richard Petty Motorsports in 2021. I think if Erik Jones and them were to switch over Richard Petty Motorsports, I think they would overall be a more competitive team, to be honest with you. They are an established organization. A lot of more sponsors would be willing to work with them. Plus, you could use the development if Erik Jones' contract was in 2022, because remember, Erik Jones is going to be remaining for Richard Petty Motorsports through the 2022 year. I think that this move would overall make a lot of sense. You have a lot of development, and you could have people like Brandon Jones if things come up. Maybe like Harrison Bird could go over there. Your talent, even Ty Gibbs, your talent could end up going over there and learning with Richard Petty Motorsports and learning with your crew chief as well. With Jerry Baxter, I think is a very, very awesome crew chief, who, by the way, has a lot of experience with Toyota. Working at Kyle Busch Motorsports with Erik Jones in the past, and also working in the past with Bubba Wallace. So I think that this move overall would make a lot of sense for Richard Petty Motorsports. I think it is going to happen. I think that there will be a smaller Toyota Chevy team that is going to switch to Toyota. I think Toyota is going to grow bigger than they have. That's something we're going to have to watch as silly season goes on, but I do 100% believe that we are going to see a switch from a small tier organization in Chevy to Toyota here, and I think it's going to be Richard Petty Motorsports. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notification on so you're notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my page as well. Link description below for that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. Do you think that Richard Petty Motorsports is going to switch over to Toyota in 2022 or not? Let me know in the comments below. And do you think that there will be a street course race in 2022? And so, where do you think that it will take place here in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.